I don't think so. Well, first of all, most people are saying they're going to win the East. So I'm in that group. I don't think that's too soon. I mean, that wasn't based on their play. That was based on what they got rid of as far as the problems, as far as the age, and what they brought in as far as the youth, the athleticism, more shooting in the backcourt, things like that. So,
and probably a little based on Boston looking wobbly after Boston looked really good to start the year.
Very wobbly. Those that went immediately to they're winning the championship, I don't know if you're in this boat. No. I think you had them winning the championship anyway.
I've picked LeBron.
Exactly. So
I've picked the team LeBron's on to win the title. I think each year since they made the finals against the Pistons, or when they beat the Pistons. And so I think every year since then, I think I'm 3 for 9 in that stretch. But so, yeah, I probably did. Right. But go ahead.
I won't even put you in that group that jumped because of the trade. So I took the approach of I want to see how much they improve to the point where we feel like, okay, they really can compete against the Warriors. But all that said, the answer is no. This team is still the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference. Getting to yesterday's games, I think there's a few things they have to work on. Ty Lue, and this was somewhat of an issue or an issue even before the trades, he's got to figure out his rotations. And he had some lineups in there that I don't think were the right lineups. Like the fourth quarter, they're outscored 34-20. They were down 2 heading into the fourth. And fourth, obviously, is what decided the game. LaMarcus Aldridge goes off. He has 8 of his 27 points in the fourth quarter. Tristan Thompson, who had defended him fairly well, I mean, Aldridge was scoring on Thompson too, but that's your best shot at guarding him. He didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. They went with a small lineup.
And they refused to double. They went with the small lineup, and they wouldn't double Aldridge.
Even with the small lineup, you're right, they didn't double. Then DeJounte Murray, the young point guard with the Spurs, he had 3 points through the first 3 quarters. He ends up with 10 in the fourth quarter to score 13 all night. George Hill, your best defender at the point position, doesn't play at all in the fourth. So I think Ty Lue, and I'll give him a little time because you got a lot of new players, but he's got to do a better job figuring out this rotation. And to me, there's no excuse for George Hill to play not at all in the front. I don't care if he was off.
And Ty Lue's got to figure out the rotation, and it's almost working on a car that you know you're going to sell because then Kevin Love comes back. And then it's a totally new rotation. Kevin Love will play the second most minutes probably of any Cav in the playoffs behind LeBron. So anything he does right now is just temporary fixes. Do I think people jumped on the Cavs bandwagon too soon? I do not. I think what we saw the day before the trade deadline, the Wednesday night against the Timberwolves when LeBron hit the game winner, that day LeBron found out the trades were coming. I know that. He didn't know exactly what they were, but he knew what the possible trades were. And what they acquired at the trade deadline was a rejuvenated LeBron James, a re-engaged LeBron James. They got the best player in the league back. I mean, LeBron won Player of the Month in November. Won it in December, is about to win it in February. January, he was not the same guy. And so that's why I think people jump back on the bandwagon. And so what happened yesterday? To be honest, similar to what happened when they lost a few days before to Washington. Against Washington, what happened at the end of the game? Everyone other than LeBron went 0 for 10 from the field, didn't score a point. Yesterday, of every game LeBron James has played in his career, over 1,100 at this point, there has not been a single game where the other 4 starters scored fewer points than yesterday. It's the lowest points LeBron's other 4 starters have ever scored in any game in his career. Those starters played 64 minutes.
In the fourth quarter or just period?
For the game. Okay. Those starters played 64 minutes. 6 for 28 from the field. 14 points, 1 assist. So, I mean, that's why they lost. Listen, I mean, you can look at the box score. You can go down the line. Okay, what did George Hill do? 1 for 7. JR, 1 for 8. Seti, Jetty Osman, 1 for 6. Tristan Thompson, 3 for 7. So, like, that's the story of the basketball game, what those other guys did. I think that's more of an outlier than a trend.
So but here's my point. Why? Why did they score so low? I think the Cavaliers have become too three-point centric. They shoot more threes than Golden State, which is ridiculous. They don't shoot it nearly as well as Golden State. They're 12th in the league in three-point percentage. They're 3rd in the league in three-point attempts.
Right.
They should not have to live and die by the three. You got LeBron, obviously, who was great at driving to the bucket yesterday. Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson. These are scorers. These are not just spot-up three-point shooters. In fact, they're not spot-up three-point shooters. So you don't have to rely on just a three-point shot. Their half-court offense yesterday was atrocious. They're lucky they got out in the break, and they had great transition offense, and LeBron was driving to the bucket, getting a lot of layups. That's what had them in the game. But they were 8 for 34 from three. When they lost to Washington, 8 for 35 from three. Yeah. They don't need these games where they're taking that many threes. The reason the half-court offense was so bad, in my view, is because it was all set up to get three-pointers. If LeBron didn't drive and score a layup, they were looking to get somebody a three. There were times in the first quarter where Tony Parker was on LeBron, and they didn't post him.
Right.
And that's part on LeBron. He was at the elbow, not looking to post, but they don't have to be so three-point heavy.
There.
Do you think there's something to the fact that the more LeBron drives, the more frustrating he's getting for not getting calls, and he's settling for these outside shots? Maybe the other guys are watching him, and after the game, some of them were talking about how frustrated it is he's not getting the calls, so they rely a little too much on that shot from outside?
I mean, I think right now some of it is because there's so many new bodies, the simplest offense for guys to learn is, listen, clear out, spot up on the three-point line. LeBron's going to drive and be ready to shoot.
But they were doing this before these new guys.
Oh, absolutely.
They were shooting.
Hey, listen, they have transitioned to one of last year in the finals. The two most three-heavy teams in the league outside of Houston were Golden State and Cleveland. Like, this is who they are. And in that game against Washington, when I mentioned that the guys other than LeBron down the stretch were 0 for 10, that was all three-pointers. Down the stretch, the only person against Washington that lost a few days ago to shoot a two-pointer was LeBron. Yesterday, you mentioned the guys as a whole. They were 8 for 34 from three. But the thing is this. That is the type of player that they've acquired and who's on the court.
Not now.
But hold on, Rodney.
Name one player on their team who's a knockdown three-point shooter. I think they have one.
Just Kyle Korver? He's the only one.
He's only knocked down. The other guys are streaky. LeBron will get hot and look great from three. Rodney Hood is a good three-point.
Rodney Hood's been at 38% for his career.
He's a good three-point shooter. He's not a knockdown three-point shooter.
Well, I mean, I think
Jordan Clarkson can get hot, but he's not knocked down.
I wouldn't call a knockdown shooter either, but George Hill was, when the Cavs acquired him, the league's leading
because he wasn't shooting a lot either. The more he's going to play and shoot,
he was only shooting wide open shots. But I don't necessarily have a huge problem with the Cavs' offensive approach because I think it's been effective.
Is it going to be Golden State? You're not going to outshoot Golden State.
Listen, they're not going to beat Golden State in a game when the starters go 6 for 28.
That's the nature of jump shooting, where you're not a tremendous jump shooter. You're going to have off nights. Golden State typically is not, because they have better shooters.
But if we remove the three-pointers, the starters then went 6 for 18. Like, this was to beat Golden State, if that's the standard, and I understand why it could be.
I'm not saying don't take any three. Take a lot, but to me, they're too heavy on it.
Go ahead.
Have some cutting. You know what I'm saying? When LeBron drives, have Hood or somebody cutting to the basket and hit him for a driving layup.
All right, if we get back to the question, do we jump on the bandwagon too soon? I think what you said is correct. The bandwagon is maybe not all the other players. Maybe the bandwagon is this guy getting rejuvenated, getting his energy back, getting his desire to want to play back. And, yeah, he is. 33 points last night. And you could tell he started when everyone else wasn't shooting well, he kind of willed it. He was like, I'm going to take it upon myself, and he did it over and over and over again.
It wasn't enough because they weren't hitting their shots, and this might be a fundamental disagreement we have. I think the only way they can beat Golden State or Houston is by hitting a bunch of threes.
They're not, though. They're not that good of shooters.
Oh, well, I mean, the thing is...
They can get streaky. JR is streaky as all get out.
They're going to have to be streaky for a couple games in that series to have a shot at it. Right. I don't think they can beat them straight up. I don't think they can beat them when Golden State or Houston are going for threes. I don't think the Cavs have enough possessions to be going for two.
Again, I'm not saying don't shoot the three. You can take 30, but they're way above. They're above 30. They take 3 more than the first.
My new favorite expression, now that I've been home for 2 weeks with a 2- and a 4-year-old, I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.